Hi everyone, welcome back to the Unquiet Grave. I'm Ash, and today I thought I would do a little tag video so you guys could get to know me a little bit better. So I was looking through some of the different darkly inclined or gothic tags, and the one that seems the most appealing to me is the Darkling Tag. So that's what we're going to be doing today. If I'm looking off camera a lot, it's because I'm holding my phone with the questions on it right there. Alright, so let's get started. What is your favorite candle scent? Now, generally speaking, I like spicy smells and food smells. So like vanilla, cinnamon, clove. I do like patchouli as well. But I actually have one of my favorite candles sitting on the desk right here, so I can show you. And a lot of this was due to the packaging, I'm not going to lie. But it was a little beaker candle that I got from Michael's around Halloween time. And this one happens to be vanilla scented. So black candle in a beaker. It was a no-brainer. I had to get it, and it's vanilla scented. So that one happens to be one of my favorites. I bought a surplus of them around Halloween time last year, 2 years ago, and I still have a couple left over. So that's that. And also, I have a medical fascination, and I collect vintage medical equipment. So the fact that it was in, you know, the little beaker just kind of sealed the deal for me. So that was a long answer to the first question, so we'll try to keep it moving here. Do you have a favorite book? I do. I'm a very avid reader. I love literature. A couple of my favorite authors, first of all, it's Edgar Allan Poe, and I know that that's a stereotypical answer, but I love Edgar Allan Poe. And I love every poem, every story. He was just a genius. So that's definitely up there on my first favorite books. And then I also love The Haunting of Eliza Bell Cray by Chris Wooding. But my favorite modern day author is Neil Gaiman. And my favorite book from him is American Gods. Although he's never written a bad book in his life. I love everything that he's ever done categorically. And then the other great literary love of my life is Shakespeare. And my favorite play from him is Hamlet. So there's that. Are you a tea or a coffee person? Neither, truthfully. I love Thai iced tea, and periodically I'll drink iced coffee, but I don't really know that either of those count considering how much sugar and milk goes into them. They don't really taste like tea or coffee anymore, and that's the only way that I like them. For as long as I could remember, my only vice in life was Coca-Cola, but I recently gave that up about 3 months ago now, and that is the longest I have ever gone. So if it came between coffee and tea, I'd have to say neither. What's your favorite brand and color of lipstick? Favorite brand, I honestly tend to like Wet n Wild a lot. They have a dark wine shade lipstick, and that was my go-to for absolutely years, and it's probably one of the best lipsticks I ever used, and it's so cheap. It's like 99 cents. However, I was recently trying to transition my makeup to more natural, holistic, healthy brands, and so I came across 100% Pure, and that's actually what I'm wearing on my lips today. It's the shade is Aubergine, and they're you know, plant-based, healthy for you makeup, but I like that it looks like you're still wearing makeup. I am not a natural girl at all, if you can't tell. I like my makeup. I have no qualm in admitting that. What is your favorite perfume or cologne? For the longest time, it was Hypnotic Poison by Dior. However, I feel like they've recently changed the formula and it doesn't smell the same to me anymore, or maybe just my chemistry is changing or something. But generally, I like the same kind of scents that I like in candles. So clove, cinnamon, spicy, you know, somewhat musky. I like patchouli scents as well. There's a really great indie perfumer brand on Etsy called Deconstructing Eden, and she makes a bunch of different perfumes that are inspired by typo negative and literature, and she does these great fall scents, and I think my favorite one from her was Pumpkin's Revenge, I believe, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a very spicy patchouli pumpkin perfume that she puts out at Halloween time, and that was gorgeous. If you had to give up the color black, what color would you choose instead? Actually, that's fairly easy for me. I love this certain color, but I don't wear it. I don't feel like myself unless I'm in all black, and it's been like that for a very, very long time. But I would have to say ox blood. If you don't know what that color looks like, it's a very, very deep blackened red, and I would wear that if I could no longer wear black, which perish the thought. And I apparently have skipped one. So do you have a celebrity crush? I wouldn't say I have a celebrity crush. I don't particularly like anybody that's in mainstream films, but I do have some actors and things that I like that are in more of the cult arena, I guess. I love Julian Sands, Crispin Glover, Michael Pitt, and then in the music side of things, I used to totally adore Marilyn Manson, like in the Long Hard Road Out of Hell video. Oh yeah, I liked Marilyn Manson. And then my other little heartthrob is Chris Pohl from Bluntingale, if I'm saying that right. I've never been completely sure how to say that band name, but anyway, Chris Pohl. If you could change your name to a stereotypical 90s/2000s gothy name, what would it be? That's fairly easy for me too, considering I was in the goth club scene in the early 2000s, and my name's Ashley. I went by Ash. Very creative, I know, but it's just what felt natural to me, and my friends have always called me Ash, so it just seemed like it made sense. And then every time I would tell somebody that at the club, they'd be like, "Oh, like from Evil Dead?" I'd be like, "Yeah, absolutely like from Evil Dead." So that's just kind of what stuck. So not original, but Ash it was, and Ash it probably will continue to be. What are your top 3 tips for surviving hot weather while black clad? I think a lot of people have answered this question, and I don't know that there's really any truly good advice. I always die in summer, regardless of what I'm wearing. But I would think that if you wore looser, flowier, and lighter material, it would work out to your benefit. However, you know, just try to stay out of direct sunlight as much as you can, just, you know, for your skin's sake as well, and you don't want to overheat, I would imagine. But in theory, I always feel like mesh seems like a good idea, and I end up wearing a decent amount of that in summer, and then I'm always disappointed to find that it is really, really hot for some reason, so I don't recommend that. I can tell you what not to do. What song will always make you happy? It doesn't have to be a goth band. Neurotic Fish, their song Suffocating Right. I love that song. It is not a happy song, but I just find something about that song so beautiful, and that one always makes me happy. Additionally, Blush from Raised in Black, that song always makes me happy too. Both of those will do it every time. Are you active in the arts, for example, play an instrument, paint, write, etc.? I've kind of run the gamut. I was in film school when I was younger, so I had a great love of film, and I'm trying to kind of get back into that now with YouTube. But prior to that, I always drew, and I used to write, and I kind of tend to cycle through which artistic thing I like at the moment. The past couple of years, however, it's recently been sculpture and mixed media, so I make weird little sculptures out of clay and incorporating ethically sourced animal bones. It sounds weird, but I think it's cool. Hopefully you would think it was cool too. I can pop some pictures in somewhere in this video if you guys are interested in that. If you had a teacup or mug made inscribed just for you, what would it have to say? I actually made a mug for my mother when I started my little online art business, and it had a picture of one of my little creatures that I created, which was a girl in a coffin, and it said Graveyard Ghoul on it. So considering that that's the mug that I made, I assume that that's the one that I'd have to go with. So we'll say that. What's your #1 non-gothy hobby? I really can't think of anything. I don't know. I'm not a beach bunny. I don't go tanning. I'll have to think about that. I'm sure that there's probably something, but there's nothing that's springing to mind right now that would be totally unacceptable as a goth. So we'll get back to that. If you could be a supernatural creature, what would it be and why? I've always loved Greek mythology, and one of my particular favorite creatures in Greek mythology were the sirens. I just love the concept of being able to lure unsuspecting men onto the rocks to their doom. Is that weird? I don't feel like that's weird. It would be a siren. What horror monster-based superpower would you have? Now, I feel like probably everybody has said this, but it would have to be the immortality of a vampire. If I said anything else, I would be completely lying. That is definitely the top of my list of supernatural powers that I would like to have, so we'll go with that. Do you feel confident or comfortable interacting with other goths or gothy people online or in real life? I do, actually. When I was younger, I was definitely involved in the goth club scene, and I still am periodically. We still have a functioning scene here, although it's much smaller than it once was. But yeah, in real life, I love being able to go out and dance with other spooky people. And Vampire Freaks had a convention last year called Dark Side of the Con in Piscataway, New Jersey, and that was an absolutely wonderful experience to get to see that many goth people in one place. So if you're anywhere near there, I highly suggest going. They're doing it again this year in March, and it was fantastic. It was a ton of fun. As far as the online piece, I'm trying to get interested in the online endeavors. I'm really not a technology person. Just never have been. So I'm not like a Facebooker or an Instagrammer. I'm trying to adapt and get with the times, so I have all of those things now, but I am very, very inactive. But I'm trying. I am trying to adapt. Which is more important for a look, great hair or great makeup? I cut and dye my hair myself, and I have done for quite a while now. But I would definitely go out of the house without doing my hair. I never leave the house without makeup. So, and in fact, half the time when I'm just sitting in my house, I still will put a full face of makeup on. So I would have to say makeup for that. Is there something that you wish there was more of in your subculture? I just wish there was more of it. I wish that there was more real life interaction. I wish that a lot of the people that are younger, that are just getting into the goth scene now, knew what it was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, and how engaged everybody was. And I miss the good old days. I know that makes me sound like a grumpy old person, but I do. I miss the good old days, and I wish that everybody had had the chance to experience that. Care to share an embarrassing story related to your darkliness? I've had a whole bunch of things happen to me over the years, but nothing specific is springing to mind right now. Although I do remember one time, my sister, I have an identical twin sister, and we were in Target of all places, and we were really done up for whatever reason. I don't know if we were going to a club or not. This was like the early 2000s, probably. And we were standing by like the jewelry section of Target, and we were just kind of hanging out there for a moment. And this lady walks past us, and we move, and she screamed, absolutely screamed, and she thought that we were mannequins. I don't believe Target has ever had mannequins, but she just, I guess because we had so much makeup on and we're so done up, she didn't think that we were humans, which I still find really funny. And that's oddly not the only time that happened to me during that point in my life. So yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. How are you at DIY? I feel like I'm good at it. I like I said, I'm into artistic things, and I like to do little DIYs. Like I just uploaded that little Valentine's Day card tutorial. As far as clothing DIYs and stuff go, I'm pretty hopeless. So my sister is definitely the seamstress out of the two of us. It is not me. So I tend to defer to her for those sorts of things. But other than the whole clothing portion and DIY for clothing, I feel like I'm good. Quickly describe your ideal wedding. I knew always that I wanted to have a black Victorian sort of dress, like a neo-Victorian sort of wedding, and that I wanted to do it in Richmond and then immediately go to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum, and that is exactly what I did. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Confessional, true or false? I love watching cheesy romance films. That is completely false. I don't think I have ever willingly watched a cheesy romance film in my life. I am all horror all the time. I always remember to wash off my makeup at night. That used to never be the case. I am trying very hard to get better about that, so that's sometimes true. I sleep with plushies. I don't sleep with plushies. I do still own plushies, but they don't stay in the bed while I'm sleeping, but there are some on a bench over here, and there's actually a couple. There's a little stuffed vampire and a bat hanging out back there, so I don't know if that counts or not, but I don't sleep with them, no. I wear non-black pajamas most nights. That is false. Literally all of my clothing is black. I still listen to a boy band that had disbanded years ago. I am very proud to say I have never, even when I was little, ever listened to a boy band, so that is false. I think Andrew Eldritch is overrated. I'm not a huge Sisters of Mercy fan, to be honest. I think that he's kind of a colossal jerk from everything that I've heard about him, but I do like Ribbons, and Vision Thing was a decent album, but that's about all I like from them in general. I don't like vampires. That is false. I don't like clubs. I don't like normal clubs, but I like goth clubs and gothy events, so that is false. I am dating a goth/darkly inclined person. I am married and I met my husband at a goth club, but I like to tease him and say that he's a poser, so true-ish. I don't enjoy graveyards. That's false. That is truly false. That is 1000% false. I love graveyards. The older and more dilapidated, the better. Blood makes me queasy. That's false. I am quite probably the least squeamish person I've ever known in my entire life. There's, I'm a germaphobe though, so if somebody else's blood were to touch me, I'd probably freak out, but the actual concept and sight of blood does not faze me at all. I'd sooner faint than pet a spider. So that's kind of an odd answer. Normal spiders, I love the look of them, but I've known people that got bitten by poisonous spiders, and I am terrified of getting the necrotic skin thing. So I don't want them to come anywhere near my actual person, but oddly the only kind of spiders that I'm not afraid of, which this makes totally no sense, are tarantulas, and I think it's because they're fuzzy and I find them cute for that reason. So the actual poisonous spider, I'm not terrified of. I don't like haunted houses. Real haunted houses I find really interesting. Or ones that are supposed to be haunted anyway. I do find old historical houses really interesting, and if they deem them as haunted, I am more than interested to go on tours and all that jazz. As far as like Halloween haunted houses, they've never really been my thing. I think they're just a little too hokey for my taste most of the time. But periodically I would go just for the fun of it really. I still browse Hot Topics clearance racks. Now, in the early 2000s, which was my first exposure to Hot Topic, they were a goth store at the time. That was that was their target demographic at that point, and they had lip service and Trip and all that jazz, and I loved Hot Topic back in that day. Morbid Threads, remember them? Anybody remember them? I loved them too. And now in the stores they have absolutely nothing that is remotely like what in my head Hot Topic used to be like. However, they do periodically still have some gothy stuff online, and Trip is still putting out that are kind of reminiscent of the early 2000s, so I do browse their online clearance racks, and I have no shame in that. I've never read Dracula. That's false. I have it downstairs on my bookcase, and I've read it probably 3 or 4 times in my life. It's a good book. It's an acquired taste, I suppose, but a good book. I think Bela Lugosi's Dead is a long and boring song. I'm probably gonna get crucified for this, but I liked that song for the chunk of the hunger that it was in, the film with David Bowie. However, Bauhaus in general are not my cup of tea. Post-punk is not really my thing. Never was. I was always much more into the industrial and 90s goth and synth pop side of things, so that would definitely be a true statement for me. It's not my thing. Okay guys, so that was the Darkling Tag. I hope you liked it and you got to know a little bit more about me. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. Once I tend to get going, it's hard to stop. So anyway, I'll see you guys for the next one, and I think next time I'm gonna do a little showcase of some of my art pieces, and I hope you enjoy that as well. All right, I'll see you then. Bye.